all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. So the first, I just want to mention that Councilor DeNovo won't be attending this evening. Next item on the agenda is public comments. So this would be the time to come forth and give us a public comment on something that's not on the agenda, preferably, because we'll have some agenda items and you'll have time to speak to those agenda items at that time. Okay? All right. Any public comments then?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, John.
Hi. I'm John Chambers. I have the building at 225 West Lockhart. Chambers Plumbing and Heating was there throughout 2020. We were closed, and but up until that time we were operating a business, and the main access for vehicles, all vehicles in and out of our warehouses were through 2nd Street, and that's our only access for that building. If the homeless camp that's proposed is placed in that, on the street, then the building has no access, and that would be difficult to sell, I think. There's been people looking at it, have truck repair, they would have to bring trucks in and out. There's people looking at it who would have retail, but they'd have to bring inventory in and out. Just no other access to the building. The area is zoned industrial, and the neighbors are a liquor distributor across the street, Hanson Animal Hospital, with access to drugs. There's all kinds of things, and we've had problems with mobile homes just showing up and being left apparently unattended, but they're full of people. And we've had to ask them to get off our property, and during the time we've had break-ins into our yard, into our vehicles, tools stolen, vandalism. One truck was stolen and they drove it out through the gate. And yeah, so I think it would be detrimental to the area. And I think also that that it is a street, it's not a vacant lot. It's not really an appropriate area for a homeless camp. Okay.
All right, John. Thank you. So, Jim, you want to address this, or Roger?
Well, I can tell you that the area that's been identified for that will not encroach into the area where the overhead doors are. That most of that street is still being open and for use, and we'll still be able to access that. I think it just goes a few feet past where your fence and gate are now. So it's really a confined area that we're looking at. It will be supervised 24/7, so that should alleviate and stop some of the crime problem that's there.
So we won't be encroaching into the access to Chambers building at that point?
No.
Okay.
Will the people be safe if there's vehicles? Because it is a street, and you know that's the end of the street. Are they going to put up some kind of barrier?
There's actually going to be it's going to be a fenced compound.
I'm just curious, where is the access to the urban campground proposed to be?
It's off of 2nd,
It's
at the
off
front of it.
Okay.
So it won't be blocking, from what Roger says, John, it won't be blocking your access in. Plus, you still have access on that main thoroughfare. That's not the only access in, because I've been there before.
Well, you can't bring any trucks in there. That's the storefront.
Right.
Yeah, the people can walk in there, but the vehicles have to come around. If there's employees, they have to go around to the side and park them.
Okay.
If there's inventory deliveries, it
Okay.
all has to come through that.
but that'll still be open.
Beside. Okay, well,
Yeah.
And so you understand, and Stephanie or Drew both are on our homeless committee, and they can step in and make a little bit more comment about this, or anyone. But it's going to be enclosed, and it's going to be supervised, again, 24/7. And so the intent is they get a grant to do this. It's for a 1-year trial period, and I hope it works, because we need something to address these kind of issues.
yeah,
And,
will it become permanent after?
well, I don't know. It depends. I mean, we'll have to see. Maybe another location. I don't know. It just kind of depends, but we'll have to play it out. But it's intended for a 1-year trial. Am I correct?
Correct. And it's a model that's working in Medford right now. We've had people attend and go look at that site. It was very clean, very organized. It's really in how it's managed.
And
Going over Medford.
it's not a place where
But-
people can just come to. They have to apply. It's limited, I think, Drew, it's 12,
25.
or is it 25? It's 25 locations, and those people will all have to apply. It's not designed for them to live there permanently. It's to get them to services and then get them on their feet. So anyone that is approved for that will have to go through a process, and then there is supervision 24/7.
Yeah, they got a grant to do this, John, and they've looked into it and researched it. Officer Babs, who's our resource officer in the homeless, had gone down to Medford with Tara from the Devereaux Center to look at this and get some expertise and understanding about it. And so we're hoping it works out for all. And as there's some other sites that they looked at and that we're not going to be accommodating, and this one seems to fit it, and it's not a huge amount. It's 25, as they stated.
Is this
So-
going to attract other
Well,
people who aren't eligible?
they can't, they won't be able to get in because it'll
No,
be,
but they'll be friends of the people who will get in.
well, I was thinking, they're going to be monitored. It's going to be limited. It's going to have 24-hour supervision, so they won't be able to stay with them. Well, John, the way it is now, there is none. And so what's happening is, in my opinion, that we find the homeless in these other spots, and there's no help for them at this point. This is a start. We've had this committee in place for quite a while.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of research. They've done a lot of work. They got a resource officer, which helps, and this is another step. Is this the final step? No, but it's
Yeah.
a step in the right direction. So,
Yeah.
if there's a problem, we'll find out about it, and hopefully there won't be.
Okay.
Like I said, And if there wasn't 24-hour supervision and the people that are running this, I think, we'd have some concerns.
Is the plan that Tara shared with the council as well as the work group available to the public as well?
It is.
Is that on the agendas, or?
I think it was on one of our agendas.
And-
I want to say it was in December. I was going to give John my card. If you have someone that's looking at purchasing your building and you want to talk to us about it, be happy to talk with them. Maybe we can alleviate some concerns.
Yeah, we don't want to cause problems for any business either, John. So, it's just a need that needs to be taken care of and addressed, and we're hoping this is going to be the right solution.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, appreciate it. Okay, that's just, again, any other public comments for anything that's not on the agenda this evening? Anyone? Hearing none, we'll move down to the consent calendar. Council, how would you like to address the consent calendar or approve it?
I move we approve the consent calendar.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar that's submitted. Are there any other comments about this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Number 4, consideration of approval of intergovernmental agreement plan for distribution of community service fee. Roger, I thought we
Yes.
already took care of this.
Well, actually, we thought we had. The partners of the enterprise zone, the cities of Coos Bay, North Bend, the port of Coos Bay, and Coos County, all partner together to operate and manage the enterprise zone. And when we had an application from Jordan Cove for a long-time enterprise zone exemption, there was numerous meetings, and a committee was put together to discuss how best to look at that, and an agreement was forthcoming, and that was actually approved by all partners last year. But an important component of that was the community service fee, the fee in lieu of taxes. How would that be used? So what we didn't, while it was approved by the work group, what we didn't have is the distribution of that fee in those agreements. So this here really is, in my mind, a taking care of business issue. It just needs to be approved, and it would only be in place and usable if that project ever materialized.
So, for my opinion, we already addressed this, we talked about it, Stephanie and myself and Lucinda negotiated endlessly with the other entities to come to terms, and so that's what this is. This is only if something is to happen with that project, so, but it doesn't have anything to do with it more than that.
That's correct. And acceptance of this doesn't provide any funding to the city of Coos Bay.
Right. But did anyone have any questions or need some refreshing on any of this?
I thought we had already approved it.
Well, we did, and so it's just something that had a glitch, and now we're back to,
Yeah, we're missing this little step of this resolution that can go up to the state.
okay. All right. Are there any other questions? If not, a motion to go ahead and approve this?
I move we adopt Resolution 21-06, approving the intergovernmental agreement plan for the distribution of community service fees, and authorize the mayor to sign the related agreement.
Second. Sign it again. All right. It's been moved and second to adopt Resolution 21-06, approving the IGA agreement for distribution of community service fees. All right. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Next item is consideration award of spring/summer 2021 asphalt projects contract. Jim?
Yes, sir, I've got this one. Like you said, the city recently advertised for the spring/summer projects for this coming season of street projects. We had 81 different potholes throughout the city, plus about a half a dozen refurbishing or reconstruction projects, primarily in the east side and a couple in Empire area. We went out to bid for the projects and received a low bid from Knife River Materials for $728,000 for all the work. And staff is recommending a 15% contingency because we never know what we're going to find on some of our streets. And we're recommending that would be $109,335, bringing the total request to $838 or $838,000 for the project.
And so, it was budgeted for 1.1 million, a little bit over 1.1 million. So the extra that we had budgeted, we're utilizing for other streets this time? We're just going to leave it in the fund, Nicole? or-
Staff's recommending we just keep hold on it, rolling into our fall projects.
You never know what's going to come up, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Bennett Avenue.
Any other questions? Anyone, comments? It's just another thing that, so this is coming from our transportation utility fee, which is that we've initiated, and also the 2% franchise fee. So this is an ongoing issue for the city, and something we've initiated, and it's done very well in getting us close to catching up to where we need to be. Now, how many more years to get caught up, Jim? Instead of 30, now are we down to like 15 or something?
I wish.
Okay.
So-
Anyway, we're
so
making a
this-
dent into it.
This list was, these are things that were prepared from the list that you and your staff have created based on the amount of repairs that are going to be need to a street, so the worst streets.
Right.
And then we're
What
just
it-
kind of
It's based
chipping away.
on an index of the asphalt wear and how poor it is. And so we put, of course, the poorest ones up on the top, but sometimes Some of the worst ones are in such bad shape that we have to put additional dollars to it. But these ones are based on complaints or issues that we're having with the street, plus the index.
But we had an analysis done sometime
Right.
back, right?
Back in
And a committee?
2015.
Yeah, so this has all been, put together by analysis in the committee, and then they were all segregated out accordingly. And then we do an update to make sure that those are the ones, or something else needs to be done in the case, right?
That's correct.
So it's not just because we feel like that one needs to be done over there.
Right.
There's a reason and a method. Okay.
And for the audience, can you explain the type of work that this is? This isn't just taking cold patch and
No, this-
patching up a hole.
So what we'll do with the potholes is the city will bought that grinder. That was one of the first things we did with the transportation utility fee dollars, is we went and bought a grinder to get more mileage out of our pothole repair budget. And so city staff will be used to prepare the potholes for filling and compacting by the contractor. And then the contractor will do all the refurbishing work projects. And that typically requires a minimum of grinding out 2 inches of pavement. But in some cases, in East Side, we'll be bringing in base rock and a geotextile product to provide us more stability underneath the new asphalt.
But this pothole is not just like a small pothole. I mean, we grind it out, it's in a square, right? The ones that
That's
we've seen
right.
around, right? Okay.
And after a year of this, we've gone through this for 1 year, how, are you pretty pleased with how the work has held up?
Yes, yeah, it's better than that cold patch, and it's important that we prepare the pothole so that it will accept the asphalt on a more permanent basis, rather than just dealing with the pothole as is and putting hot mix on top.
And then also the contractors, how do they like the partnership with the city on that?
I think it's working real well.
And what we tear up, we get to use on the park trails, right?
We haven't yet.
Really? No. I tried.
That's all I have, thanks.
All right, council, how would you like to proceed?
Move that we award the spring/summer 2021 asphalt projects contract to the Knife River Materials in the amount of $728,900, plus authorize a 15% contingency for a total expenditure not to exceed $838,235.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to award the spring/summer 2021 asphalt projects contract. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, next item is consideration of approval of what are we doing? Record for wastewater supervisory control of data. Okay, who's handling this? Jim?
I got this
Why
one.
is mine
Yes.
popping up here?
It's the integrator of record to the,
Thank you.
yes, we have, our current integrator of record contract is expiring, and I will tell you, I'll explain what an integrator of record does. There are folks that specialize in getting our technology that's in our new pump stations and new wastewater system to talk to one another and to talk to our personnel electronically versus the more, we have to show up on site and see what things are going on with our wastewater system. So for this to be accomplished, the control systems associated with the plants and pump stations should be integrated. In order to do this, integration engineers combine hardware and software from multiple suppliers into a single interface. The integrator that does this work takes care of putting in place the important measures that will help the city reduce overall costs, improve quality and reliability of the wastewater asset, increase productivity, and allow for in-depth oversight and reporting, and keep the city up to date with technology and hardware trends. Approximately 6 years ago, we advertised for and hired Jacobs as our integrator of record. And they once again submitted for this job, or RFQ, and along with a firm that's new to us, Verus. And based on review of their statements of qualifications, staff is recommending Jacobs be extended the contract again and continue this integrator of record work for the city. Now, the contract is to use the integrator on an as-needed basis, so a work order system is in place and would continue to be in place to have the work done. No single job can exceed $100,000. If it does, then we'll have to go out for requests for proposals or bids outside this contract.
So is it going to be for 6 years, or that's the
It's
maximum?
5 years with an option for a 1-year extension.
So can it be terminated earlier than,
Yes,
okay. So you're suggesting, staff is recommending Jacobs, then, correct?
that's correct.
So
At
how
the
was the
time we wrote
determination between them and the other company?
I'm sorry.
So how was it determined that you picked them over the other company?
The other company, well, for one, they didn't follow the directions in the RFQ exactly.
Okay,
And they don't have the experience in Oregon and with our system that Jacobs does.
okay,
So that's how Jacobs prevailed.
all right. Council, comments?
That's kind of what I was noticing in the stuff that I looked at. Is the experience that you've had with Jacobs on this SCADA system, you're comfortable with
Yes,
their performance in the past?
absolutely. They did a very good job under this contract previously.
Are the fees similar to previous years? Or do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, so we don't know how, if the fees compared to the previous years?
Well, the way it is, we'd have to pick these folks based on qualifications, not on fee.
But we used Jacobs in the past, correct?
Yes,
So budgetarily, we don't know, I mean, I just was concerned.
right, because it depends on how often we use them on what the cost. My guess is that
Oh, I
the
see.
fees would be similar.
It's as needed then, it's not,
That's
I
correct.
gotcha, all right. Okay. All right, council, how would you like, any more comments, questions?
So if somehow this were something that could start to be done in-house, then the as-needed would disappear, yeah?
That's correct.
Excellent.
Is that our intent or hope?
We won't, it's unlikely, but because it's such a specialized field.
Okay,
And we don't need this type of work done continuously. It's just on an as-needed basis.
all right.
This is similar to other types of contracts that the city would use for a variety of things, not necessarily just, not this particular contract, but you have areas of expertise that you contract with on an as-needed basis.
We do similar like engineers of record or a realtor of record. We even outsource our IT because it's not cost effective to actually employ those people full-time.
So it's customary to do something like this. I think where the council's concern was where we ended with the contract with Jacobs, but I think you've kind of satisfied that, saying that they're very good at what they do
Right,
with this system, at least for me.
right. And this is their engineering folks
Right.
versus their operation maintenance folks.
Right.
Oh.
A different part of the company, right?
That's correct.
In fact, we're using Jacobs Engineering at this point. They've done our first phase for Plant 1, am I correct?
Yes, they're currently working under pre-design
Right.
for that, and we'll be bringing that back to you, I believe, at not this month's work session, but the next month's work session, to discuss further on pre-design and talk about delivery of that project in the future.
I move we award the integrator of record contract to the consultant that was recommended by staff, and that's Jacobs.
Second.
So moved and seconded to award the integrator of record to Jacobs for the contract to the consultant, excuse me. Any of the comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next item on the agenda is consideration of approval of the construction contract for the Seabreeze and Lake Court storm sewer replacement. Jim?
Sure. So the city, its engineering staff tracks and monitors deficiencies in our stormwater system as well as our sanitary sewer system. Each year, the deficient lines are prioritized based on the extent of the deficiency, its service area, its location, and due to budgetary constraints, only a certain amount of the deficiencies are fixed each year. Staff had identified the storm drain along Seabreeze and Tideview Terrace and Lake Court as a high priority project. And so we had it, because of the complexity of the problem, we had an engineer, our on-call engineer of record, the Dyer Partnership, work on preparing plans for this project. And we decided, because of the cost estimates, to go out to bid, or to, phase the project. So last summer we bid and did Tideview Terrace, Seabreeze, and that was completed under budget. And we didn't have any other big emergencies come up since that time, so staff's recommending we do phase 2, which is the Tideview Terrace and Lake Court improvements. We had 5 bidders on this project. The low bid was K&E Excavating at $264,965,000. The high bid came in at $396,558, and the engineer's estimate was $415,000. So the city staff is recommending the council consider award of the Seabreeze Terrace and Lake Court storm drain replacement project go to K&E Excavating for $264,965, plus authorize a 15% contingency for a total not to exceed $304,710.
So who was the contractor for phase 1?
I don't remember.
It wasn't K&E though,
No,
was
it wasn't.
I didn't think so. Okay.
Can you address the large difference in the cost between the
Yeah,
engineer's estimate and really that bid is quite a bit?
Yeah, the engineer for the project said they had used that last summer's project as a monitor to set their price for the cost estimate. And I think that project probably was bid a little later in the season, and maybe not, it wasn't quite as competitive. The other thing is, the engineer believes that this particular project came in lower because of the time of year we bid it, early in the season. And so contractors may be a little more hungry. And there were 8 contractors that pulled out plans to potentially bid on the project. And all the contractors knew that there were that many bidders, and we did get the 5 bidders to actually submit quotes. And so they believe the competition helped lower the price.
And there was an email from the engineer that actually asked if they were comfortable with their bid.
That's correct, and they were. Sounds like their estimator was on site during the walkthrough and was aware of the challenges of the project and has contingencies in their company to take care of any, the issues is groundwater, a lot of groundwater. And they say they have pumps available to take care of that, and that's if they have to use it. that's part of the cost.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Looks good.
If there are none, how would you like to proceed?
I'll make the motion that we award the Seabreeze Terrace and Lake Court Storm Drain Replacement Project to K&E Excavating, Inc. for $264,965, plus authorizing a 15% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $304,710.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to award the Seabreeze Terrace and Lake Court Storm Drain Replacement Project to K&E Excavating. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
City Manager's report. Roger.
See if we can get this to work here.
PowerPoint, huh?
PowerPoint. But it's a short one.
It's all right. Visuals are good.
So as the mayor is aware, we had, well, it looks like it's not showing up in here, though.
Which network are you connected to?
What's that?
Which network are you connected to?
I'm not sure. But for the sake of time, I'm going to tell you about this PowerPoint you can see, and I will send you. We did have a swearing-in ceremony this week for our newest police officer, and I'll let Deputy Chief Chapman tell you a little bit about him.
Yeah, thank you. We did Monday, we swore in Jared Bohannon. He is basically taking the place of our vacancy when Captain Calmetz retired at the end of January. Jared, he's a local resident to the Coos Bay North Bend area. He was actually born and raised here. He attended North Bend High School, and he most recently was employed at Berea Hospital as a security officer, and actually held that position since 2017. So he comes to us with a little bit of experience in the area of security, but no law enforcement experience yet, other than he did attend the Reserve Academy. He had intentions of being a reserve officer, but we ended up hiring him full-time before he was actually able to fulfill that role. Some of his interests is he's just really has a heart to serve the community. Most of his interests that he has listed in his background when we conducted it was volunteer positions, and he was a volunteer firefighter at Lakeside Fire Department. Police, we won't hold that against him, but he seems to have that heart to serve his community, and we're real excited to bring him on board. He will start his training process with our trainers. In fact, he's already started that the last couple of days, and then he will actually attend the State Academy starting May 3rd, which is now a 16-week academy, so we will lose him for 16 weeks, and then we'll bring him back and get him ready to be turned out, so we'll patrol. One other thing I'll mention is he is actively working. He's a very active young man. He's working on his bachelor's degree. He will finish up his bachelor's degree in fall of this year, and he'll actually have a degree in intelligence gathering from the American Military University. So that's a pretty impressive certification there. So, and then if you wouldn't mind, I'll move into a little bit what else is happening as far as our hiring processes in the police department. We have we know that Chief Gary McCullough will be retiring at the end of June, and that will create a vacancy in our staff as well. And so in the process, it made sense for us to try to identify additional applicants for those positions as they become vacant. And so we have an eligibility list established, and we are in the final process of hiring on our second officer that would be taking the position of, or fulfilling the vacant position of Chief Gary McCullough, and we would probably be able to start that person about mid-April. And then we have learned recently, as of recent as today, that we may potentially have an officer that has to leave the area due to a transfer of his wife's position due to the potential loss of the jail, Shutters Creek, the prison. So with that, we may have to visit our eligibility list, which fortunately we do have a couple really strong applicants that will be able to look and try to replace that position as well. So that's kind of where we're at. We're definitely in movement right now, so thank you.
Thank you. Roger?
So, just tagging on that, we're in the process of getting ready to do the transfer of ownership or transfer of operations and maintenance of our wastewater system. And I can tell you that our consultant is working full-time. There's multiple meetings a week as we move through this process. And one of the key phases is hiring the right people. We need a total of 17 people. Currently, we're advertising for the top 7 positions. And we are receiving some good applications. So once that we get through that, and we start assembling that management team, then we'll go to frontline staff on that. But that's, if you talk to Jackie, it's a full-time job right now, doing the recruitment process. And then that gives our other staff over at Public Works opportunities to work out processes and procedures and timelines. I will state that our current company that we're working with, even though we're ending our contract with them, they are being very helpful through the transition process. So. And then, as I shared with you via an email on the urban camping program, that was approved by you subsequent to them finding funding. We learned this week that they have been approved funding not only for operations, but also for purchasing shelters, pre-made shelters by a company called Pallet. If I had this working, you could actually see one of those. But they look nice. I think they'll be much better. As we go through, and we met on site today to do pre-planning, and we actually set that up before we knew that they had funding. We wanted to be prepared. What is the infrastructure that's going to be needed? We knew that it would need fencing, a fence compound, and that fence compound would be screened, not only for their privacy, but we also need a windbreak in that area. In addition, we'll need power and water. And so looking at all that, it appears that our cost for putting up that infrastructure is going to be in the neighborhood of $40,000. Most of that, though, is for power. In order to get power there, because all of these units will actually have the ability to have power so that they can be heated. So that's the biggest cost. It's about $15,000 to drop 2 new poles in and a 200 amps circuit. From there, it's the operational cost to pay for power, water, and all that.
So the city, is that the city paying for the power on that, or are they going to take over?
They'll take over that consumption cost.
Okay, and where are we funding that from? The 40,000 that we'll need to prep it?
Well, we're looking to talk to the Urban Renewal Agency about that in the next meeting. But what you'll find in the Urban Renewal meeting is that we believe it can be an urban renewal expense, although you need to do a minor plan amendment to add that to your housing goal.
And can you send us a picture of the pallet?
Most certainly. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Council comments. Rob?
I wanted to report that there will be another vaccine clinic at the Boys and Girls Club Tennis Center this Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. This is the 3rd consecutive Thursday that they've had one out there, Coos Health and Wellness, so hopefully they're getting ahead on these vaccinations. Secondly, I was reviewing my notes, and I'm curious if Mingus Park is still on schedule to be done this summer?
I'm assuming that it won't be. What's holding us up on moving forward with the Mingus Park project is a grant. We are not able to submit for that grant because most of those grants actually delayed their opening and our grant acceptance. So at this point in time, and I'm just looking over at Jim, we don't have a granting source that we can actually submit the grant that's been prepared.
But it is prepared and ready to roll whenever that opens up.
I believe that's correct. We did have a granting consultant, and the background work was all done. All the engineering
Yeah,
and environmental's been put together.
perfect.
And lastly, I just want to wish the mayor a happy birthday. I was going to bring a cake so you could blow out some candles, but the fire chief said that many candles would be a fire hazard. So happy
Thanks,
birthday.
Rob. Stephanie, council comments.
Yes, happy birthday, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
The only thing I have is that the application process for the Coos Bay Farmers Market, which takes place on Central Avenue on Wednesdays starting in May, opened up on Friday. And so they are going to get a full season this year. They're still restricted the number of vendors, but the vendors are excited. The community is excited already. And again, that will open May 5th. It will run Wednesdays through October from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's a little shorter venue up Central. I think they're going to be using the 2nd Street parking lot for food vendors and some vendors because of some work that's going to be going on. But Melissa, who is our farmers market manager, is very excited. This will be her 2nd year as a market manager, and she's doing a great job. And so that's all I have.
Good news. So, yeah. Phil?
I just wanted to echo what Rob said about the vaccinations. I'd like to encourage everyone to take advantage of those. I think it's Coos Health and Wellness is where you sign up and get your appointment. Is that right?
Correct.
So, and happy birthday, Mayor.
Thank you.
Phil, also today in the press conference, Eric Gleason, Dr. Eric Gleason from Coos Health and Wellness said, sign up everywhere you can. So if you haven't signed up or you've already signed up at Coos Health and Wellness, every pharmacy, I believe in the area, most every pharmacy is taking signups as well. And he said,
Oh,
wherever
nice.
you can get signed up, do it, and then just let Coos Health and Wellness know if you start your process somewhere else so they can take you off the list.
Well, we definitely need to get our numbers down.
Yes, we do.
I had a conversation today with a restaurant owner in the downtown core, and they're anxious for our numbers to get down. You can only hang on for so long. Financially, they need this to get down to a point where we can be safe and still be able to dine in. So get those vaccinations wherever and whenever you can. That's all I have.
That's it? Carmen?
You guys have taken all the words right out of my mouth. So, yeah, I think that's been on the forefront of my mind, and I know my wife's mind as well. She's been advocating for people who are having trouble getting signed up or finding appointments. So, Stephanie, thanks for mentioning that you should sign up in multiple places, and that's what we've been hearing is, oh, I'm signed up, I'm just waiting. But the people who seem to be getting vaccinated are signed up everywhere. So try your hardest. If you are having a hard time navigating, try to find an advocate somewhere, somebody young who's willing to navigate the technology maybe. Heck, you could even hit me up. We've been helping out a lot of people trying to find ways to find an outlet to get vaccinated. So yeah, as a restaurant owner myself, I am ready to be outside of the extreme risk category. I think all of us are. So yeah, let's all just try to be safe as we can, and let's move forward so we can get closer to normal. That's all I have.
Thanks, Carmen. Drew?
I was thinking about making a motion to sing happy birthday, but I am a terrible singer.
Good.
I'm gonna
Let's
stay
just
away
pass
from
on
that.
that. I won't approve that motion. I promise.
You may not get
I don't
That was
think
another
you'll
thing.
get a second.
Happy birthday, Mr. Mayor.
Happy birthday. I was fortunate to be able to get my vaccine, so sore arm for a little while, but other than that, good to go. The letter I'm writing up to Salem about mental health, making some progress, got input back from Community Living Case Management, Coos Health and Wellness, a little bit from Advanced Health, we'll be getting more, waiting on a few others. I'll be sending out the letters this week to cities and counties to get some anecdotal information on what the impact has been for them, and stick it into a big stack and mail it to legislators. So that's what I got.
Thanks, Drew. Thank you for all the wishes. Appreciate it. I'm glad you didn't bring a cake, and we didn't meet the fire marshal criteria under that. I
brought
just
the cake and
also
left
want to
the candles.
reiterate that everyone needs to get their vaccines, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Stephanie. And I think the hospital and North Bay Medical Center are all others also. So it's just imperative you do it. We need to get our numbers down. We're 1 out of 2 counties in the state that are not in extreme.
And we are the highest in the state
yeah.
as well.
So,
We're number 1.
there's only 2 counties that are in it. We're one of them. It's really a hardship on our businesses and employees, and so we need to get there and move on. And I know we can. We just did whatever it takes. We need to do it and be cautious and careful. So please pass that on and keep in mind that it's hurting our businesses and jobs and all kinds of things. So anyway, that's into my comments, and we do have an Urban Renewal Agency meeting to follow, but nothing more with this council meeting. So I'll adjourn this meeting and turn over the Urban Renewal Agency meeting to Stephanie. Thank you, everyone.
All right, we'll call the Urban Renewal Agency meeting to order. And our first item on the agenda is public comments. Don't see any public comments at this point, so we'll move on to the consent calendar. And what is the agency's wish?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent calendar and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 3 is consideration of approval to prepare plan amendments for the downtown and Empire urban renewal plans. I believe you're going to take this one?
I am. So
Roger.
staff took the liberty of talking with our urban renewal consultant when we were considering different, when you were considering different locations for the library, and also when we began discussing about the urban camping program. You'll recall when we first began talking with the Nancy Devereaux Center, they were asking the city or the agency to at least fund the initial cost for the infrastructure that would be needed for that facility. Upon our discussion with our consultant, she revealed we actually could do a minor plan amendment for the downtown to add the urban camping to your plan, which would allow us to lawfully use funds to fund that infrastructure cost. The other thing, when we talked to her about the Empire plan, there's 2 issues. One is you're getting near to the maximum indebtedness. You still have some room, but not a lot. But while a lot of progress has been made in Empire, there's still a lot more that needs to be done. So we believe it might be wise to consider increasing your maximum indebtedness, but we also believe it would be wise to expand the planned area and to include that acreage of John Toppett's Park, which could be where you cite the library and other amenities, which could include a sports park or other things. Doing so would allow us to include that with the plan to maybe help defray costs to the voters by taking on necessary preparations for land development and or for getting roads or utilities in there. That one is not so easy. That is a major plan amendment. Actually, both those, increasing the size of the urban renewal zone and increasing the maximum indebtedness. There's a state process that's set out by statute that talks about how we do that, because the urban renewal the very existence of it does have some impacts to the overlapping taxing districts. What would be required is for us to put together a plan, if you approve, then to meet and confer with the overlapping taxing districts. In order to move forward, because these are both substantial plan amendments, we would need 75% concurrence of the overlapping taxing districts. Looking at this, we believe that there is a pathway that looks like it would be approved by them. And it's not 75% of the districts in number, but it's 75% of the aggregate money that would otherwise go to the taxing districts. So with that, staff suggests that if it pleases the agency, that we consider undergoing a substantial plan amendment. It will take time. And if you went all the way through all the steps, the soonest we would see realization of both the expansion of the zone and or expansion of the maximum indebtedness is probably July.
And that's if you get approval from that percentage. And can you
Correct.
identify some of the overlapping,
I can.
you know what I mean?
Those over,
That didn't go.
we are actually one of the ones most affected. The city of Coos Bay is an overlapping taxing district, so we forego general fund dollars. For this current, actually last year, was $354,000 that instead of going to the general fund, went to fund urban renewal. The next largest one is actually going to be Coos Bay School District. And while they're listed as impacted, the reality is they're not, because those funds are backfilled by the state. The same with ESD, the same with SWAG. After that, we have the library district, the Port of Coos Bay, Coos County Airport, and the only other one would be 4-H.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So, no, I just think it's something we should move forward on. I mean, I'm a proponent of urban renewal. I think it's proven how successful, and it's a great tool for our city to help in many ways. So, anyway, I would support it.
On this here, I don't believe that we need a vote. We just need concurrence to move forward.
Okay. Do we have consensus for the staff to proceed forward?
I concur.
Concur?
I do as well.
Agreed.
Yes.
I think we have direction then. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, our next item is consideration of a request to reimburse the developer for public sewer improvements. Is this
gonna
Roderick?
handle this.
Oh,
I'll take
Jim?
care of this. Sure.
Okay.
So Adam Rutherford, who's in the audience and is also very busy doing lots of projects here in our community, is here about, in particular, about some infrastructure improvements he needs to do for the Watson Street townhomes located there next to our Empire Fire Station. The report I have just limits it to one of his requests, and that's the request for some reimbursement for some sewer work that he has to do in the alley between the fire station and his property. There was an unexpected cost for him in this project in the sense that the sewer line is in bad shape and he would need to replace it rather than just tap into it. We also have requested that he move the pipe or adjust it further to the west to improve our maintenance access to that pipe. And so his estimate for that cost would be $78,310 to replace the sewer line plus do the line adjustment. Since I wrote this report, and you have a letter of Mr. Rutherford's request to also include reimbursement for him to replace the deteriorating curb, gutter, and sidewalk in front of the complex along Wasson in the city right-of-way. These items are at the end of their useful life and will be utilized by the public once he's completed them. He's also requested that the urban renewal funds used to reimburse him for that, for removal and replacement of these items. His contractor's quoted estimate for the replacement cost is $20,040. So overall, infrastructure reimbursement request is $98,350,000.
So I'll just chime in. When we started this project, when you approved the surplusing of city property, you did so with the purpose of incentivizing a multifamily housing project. And hopefully incentivizing that would allow that to be reasonable market rate rents. Since this project has started, and as you'll see with the letter that I sent you and provided for you this evening, the cost to actually construct it have gone up tremendously. And this is not new to you. You've heard this from other contractors recently that are facing the same issue. And what we have here is we have two things. One is we have a cost that the developer didn't anticipate. Normally, we wouldn't have a developer move a sewer line, but when we went in, before going into this project, we were using that back lot in part for our firefighters to park on. Because we were having that developed, that caused us some constraint for parking. And so originally, we were gonna look at just using that unimproved alleyway for access, putting up a fence, and then fencing off that parking compound. Although the developer had a different idea, he was hoping that the gates from the backyards would empty out into that unimproved alleyway and provide easy access for his tenants to go to the park at that location. Looking for a compromise, we were looking at moving that sewer line, because if we move the fence over, we're going to put the fence right on top of the sewer line. In addition, that sewer line is old, although it's not as bad as other sewer lines. But if we penetrate it and put 9 connections into it, in that short span, it just doesn't make sense. So having it replaced makes more sense.
So we get an improved line.
We would.
We help with housing, which is why we did that project.
Yeah. I think it's a reasonable request. We've been trying to limit use of urban renewal funds and support of projects to things that are actually public infrastructure. And the only other part that fit was actually the driveway aprons that'll need to be put in on the Wasson side. And as you'll see in this, that's actually a more minimal expense of this altogether. So I think all told, he's looking for consideration for up to $93,350 in reimbursements.
$98,300.
Yeah, $98,000. And I guess I should also add that the city did go out and we looked at a local contractor to replace that pipe, not to move it, but just to replace it. Mr. Rutherford's company actually does this for a living, and the reimbursement to him is cheaper than it would have cost us to go out and hire someone to do it. In addition, we don't want to hire a different contractor to do it, because that's going to take us time, and that's going to alter his completion date.
What is that date?
He is actually here tonight.
What is that date?
Middle of summer.
We're getting lots of requests for information.
Well, if you've driven by, it's really shaping up. It looks great.
It does
It's a
look
great addition out there.
So just for clarification, if we have an old sewer line somewhere in town that is failing or substandard and not performing like it should, we replace it, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Our only issue is that we choose which ones to do based on how bad, we take the worst ones first. This one just isn't one of the worst ones, but this is the opportunity to do it.
Sometimes that choice is made for us though, right?
They are.
Well, and
Some of
when
those
you're
choices are.
punching 9
Yeah, 9 more
Holes in
units
it.
might make it the bad
Yeah.
one.
Well, I guess my point is, if we said, you know, go ahead and connect, then odds are it's gonna be a very short time period before it fails, and we're gonna have to replace it anyway. So why not get ahead of the game and go ahead and replace it? I have no problem with the proposal, because if we were to have him connect to it, it's gonna fail. And we would have to replace it, because it's our line.
And then we would probably have to dig up a paved service that we're going to put in for the parking lot for the fire hall.
Yeah.
It'd be much more than
Yeah.
this bid at this time, so.
So we have capacity for this.
Yes, you do.
Is this better funded out of the emergency fund for stormwater, or for urban renewal funds?
It's better out of urban renewal. It is a urban renewal project.
Okay,
And in addition, there are plenty of competing projects for these emergency wastewater funds.
okay.
Yeah.
Adam, I have a question for you.
Can you approach the mics so the people out in YouTube can hear you as well?
So if you're awarded this reimbursement, do you still anticipate that your rates will be lower than the current rates? Your rental rates?
We're trying to get our rates down to, I mean, current rates are all over the board, but we want to be on the lower end of the spectrum that I'm projecting is what we're trying to get to.
The 120 to 135 per square foot, yeah.
I'm aiming for the lower end of that, and this would definitely help
Yeah,
achieve
definitely.
that.
It's a tough time to be doing all of this right now, as your letter states, so.
And just for the folks out there who weren't able to hear, you said these would be available on your completion date is middle of summer, you said?
Yeah, middle of summer, I mean, we still have some things we're working out, but I mean, our goal is, July, give or take, is what we're shooting for, maybe early August, but it's weather dependent on some of the stuff we're doing. We've made some really good progress over the last month or so, if any of you guys have driven by. I mean, my contractor, Chris Swanson's been out there just, working really hard with his crews and getting it done.
Looks really good.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rutherford?
No, I just want to say, this is a great private-public process that we intended to happen. It's going to create housing. Urban renewal is a tool that allows us to do these type of things, and so it also will help our urban renewal agency in funding and our tax base. So in my mind, it's a great project. And unfortunately, these costs have gone up, and so it's something that we need to replace anyway, so we're a little bit ahead of the game.
Yeah, this is gonna save us money down the road, really, when you
Yeah.
look at it, so.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the requested reimbursement for not to exceed $98,350.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the requested reimbursement of $98,350 for sewer line replacement costs and a sidewalk curb and gutter completion. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for being here. All right, and with that, we will now go into executive session, and we will not be reconvening for any business after executive session.
The Urban Renewal Agency will now meet in executive session pursuant to
Have a good night.
ORS 192.